And the night that Stu talked about, I was in fact in the area, and I remember being chased down the lawn, right? Yeah. Chased down the lawn by the Virginia police. I ran into the Cracker Box, slammed the door behind me, and Joel, of course, is, as usual, in bed studying. And I ran in, but I have to say that the time period then, I had the luxury of, I was in ROTC, I was in a fraternity, had a job, I was doing my thing with the Corks and Girls, which is now defunct. But at the same time, I was participating somewhat in those demonstrations things. I have to say, though, looking back on it, there was a certain, to some degree, it was a sort of adolescent fun time, as opposed to being, at least in my head, I was no real revolutionary. I was, can I have a fun time? You know, I was having, and the university was great. That's what it was, too. And it was, I knew what I was going to be doing. I was going to go to law school. So it was a very light time in a certain way. I guess I understood there were big changes going on. People didn't wear coats and ties all the time. There were differences. But it still had the same kind of, for me, same kind of general feeling. In other words, there could be demonstrations going on, there could be a strike going on, but it still felt like the same place. In fact, coming back here today, of course, without the students here, and therefore without seeing the diversity, the majority of women and all that, it still feels like the same place. In other words, it has that same kind of, cocoon maybe is a bad word, but sort of the same kind of feeling about it even now. Because the Central Grounds area, at least to my eyes, retains essential character. The essential same character. So it really has the same kind of spirit to it. And I think that was something that for me at the time gave me the sense of continuity. I was young, so everything was pretty new. And it was a light time in the middle of an awesome drama. In other words, it's both dramatic, fun, and a light time at the time. It was a lot of fun.
But it was.
I wouldn't mind having it back again.
So you wouldn't call it a galvanizing life experience per se?
You know, kind of, not in a way, because I was really on a very straightforward path. I was in the RTC, even though I was doing sit-ins at the RTC building. But I was really in RTC so I could get a law school deferment. I was going to Vietnam. So the system was benefiting me in that way. I was fully aware of it. But I was on a straight path into law school. I knew where I was going. So for me, it was pretty much a straightforward time. There were all these things going on around. I was conscious of them, participating in to a degree. But unlike maybe more Joel, I don't recall now having a sense that inside my head it was such a momentous time. It was momentous, but at the same time there was kind of a lightness about it to me. You know, last year of college, knew where I was going, having a good time, 21, what could be bad?
So you didn't feel that your spring of your fourth year was ruined in any way by the events that took place?
I think the spring of my fourth year was good in about every way.
Well, I didn't have, my experience wasn't as colorful as yours was. At least I don't recall it being. For some reason, I feel that my experience was a little more, I was also an ROTC student. I was in Navy ROTC with Carl, and I was a student athlete. I was a soccer player. In 1969, in the fall, our soccer team won the first ACC championship in the history of the university. So to say that I was sidetracked or diverted from these other things that were going on is not necessarily the case, because we were all exposed to it. I think at the end of the day, to sum it up, what I always felt is that the university taught us to be young men, and it forced 18 to 20-year-olds to make a decision as to what you wanted to do. Did you want to, we had the draft. If you were healthy, your number got picked out of a box. And if you didn't seek a deferment, you would be drafted. Did you want to go to graduate school, which was a deferment? Did you have any medical issues that would cause you to have a deferment? Did you go into ROTC, OCS, the Army Reserve, on and on? So as young men, I think what I reflect on often is how it taught us and forced us in this context, this environment of Charlottesville and UVA in 1969, 1970, to try to understand, to come to grips with ourselves. I think, you know, that the events, I have always felt that the university is a welcoming place. As far as change goes, the freshman class this year will be 11% African American. We will have 33% of the freshman class as minority students. In 2 years, there will be more living women graduates of the University of Virginia than men. On and on and on. The honor system, traditions, they bend, but they don't break. The honor committee now and the way it works is unbelievable. It's so involved. It's a student, you know, student-run endeavor, as is Judish. Students run it. Faculty, administration do not get involved in it at all unless they ask for legal advice from legal counsel. So it's a community of trust. You don't have to show IDs, you still don't. If you go to the university when you write a check. All those things have persevered. And so those are kind of some of my impressions. As far as going into, you know, what was going on with the war in Vietnam, I think we all had a perspective then. Our experiences after that, when I was in Southeast Asia, Carl was a fighter pilot, a Navy combat fighter pilot. It's hard for anyone to say that being in Vietnam was wonderful. I remember most in my service, most meaningful thing was taking these 17 and 18-year-old kids who were off the streets of Brooklyn or from small southern towns and doing this because it was honorable and trying to educate them about the history where they were and what they were doing. So, anyway, that's my kind of recollection. It'd be great to get some feedback.
Yeah.